Alright, I'm going to talk to you in this video about adding and subtracting decimals, and this is as much a lesson in place value as it is adding and subtracting decimals. You'll see here there is a decimal in 12 and 8 tenths, but there isn't a decimal in the number 3. So whenever there isn't a decimal, we just assume that this number right here is a whole number and that the decimal would go to the right. So if you were to add these up, I think it's a little bit easier to make sure that you have the same amount of numbers after the decimal. And in this case, you can always add a 0 because the value of 3 doesn't change if I say I have 3 and 0 tenths. So now I can add these up, and I like to add these up vertically, so I'm going to reformat the problem. And you should notice when I add these up that the decimals line up. It's almost like the buttons on a shirt. And that is because that we want to keep the place values organized, because right here I'm adding 8 tenths with 0 tenths. That'll equal 8 tenths. I'm adding 2 ones with 3 ones. And I'm adding 1 10 with, really, I could put this in here too, 0 tens. So we get 15 and 8 tenths. Same thing when you set up problems with subtraction. You want to line up the decimals and line up the place value. So there's going to be a decimal to the right of this 13 if you don't see it. The decimal's right there. A lot of times students will put it in between the 1 and the 3. But again, if there's no decimal there, we assume it's a whole number, so that number is 13. So I've written 13 and 0 tenths, and we're taking away 3 tenths. So we're going to put the 3 right there, and then you can subtract. If you need to add the zeros here for the ones place and the tens place, go for it. And 10 tenths minus 3 tenths is 7 tenths. When I borrowed 1 over here to give myself 2 tenths, I had to change the amount of ones to 2 now. So there will be 2, and then the 1 is right there. And remember, you still have the decimal line up with all the other decimals as you subtract. And the reason for that is to show the place value of each number. So this was the tenths, this was the ones place, and this is the tens place.